How do you describe, when somebody from off comes here, how do you describe Atalaya to them in a couple of sentences? Is it a castle? Is it a house? Is it a ruin? What is it?
I start by asking a question. I ask people on my tours, how many people think this house is ugly? And I usually get a lot of people to raise their hands. And then I ask people how many people think this house is beautiful, and I raise my hand, and sometimes other people do. The second question is how many people think this looks like a castle or a prison or a sanatorium? And that's what most people think, because when you walk up from the outside, it's not very beautiful looking. The outside is rather plain compared to the inside courtyard. I explain it is a house. That's what it was used for by the Huntingtons. It was a retreat for them where they came to work. They did not do a lot of entertaining here and did not have overnight guests. However, it is patterned after Moorish castles that Archer had seen many of on his trips to Spain and the Mediterranean. So it is castle-like, but the Huntingtons themselves did not call it a castle. It was just their home, and they called it Atalaya.
Well, that's a lot more than 2 sentences, but it gives us a background and also gives us a place to start if we could visit it. And speaking of visiting, who visits Atalaya?
I would say, first of all, I know that we get people nationally and internationally. We keep a guest book that people sign, and we have a lot of locals who love Atalaya and come here all the time. And whenever they have visitors, they bring their visitors in. So there's certainly a large local component who feel very fond of the building. But as well, we get international visitors, Canada, Mexico, also nationally all across the United States. We get them from Europe. So really kind of a mix of everybody. We have a number of school groups who come in throughout the year as well that also have an educational program. They learn about using Atalaya. It's about the Great Depression, and that's part of their curriculum.
What do visitors comment on when they have finished their tour of Atalaya? What do they say?
Their comments at the end are very different from their comments at the beginning. If they have been here before, then they're usually, we love coming back, and we've seen so many changes, which we've had a number of changes in the last few years, good improvements on the house. I think people have a better understanding when they're done. You know, the house is so huge, and it's so unlike anything else around here that when visitors come, they're like, what is this place? But we have a number of people who love architecture, and they love the house, and they fall in love with it and think it's beautiful. So I think they comment on the story of the Huntingtons, because if they take a guided tour or an audio tour or talk to one of our interpretive hosts, we'll tell them the story about the people who live there and why the house looks like it does. So, we get a lot of favorable comments.
What features of Atalaya do you wish that visitors paid more attention to and that they don't pay enough attention to? Is there anything about the house that...
2 things that we stress about the house is that it was the home and working studio of a renowned 20th century sculptor, Hyatt Huntington. And I would say the main message we want people to get is how unusual the architecture is for this area and the story of the Huntingtons. That's our main point. And if they can put those 2 things together, then we've done our job.
So really, if you visit Atalaya, you should do it with a guide, shouldn't you? Or take a tour of some kind.
Yes, I think that's the best way. We offer docent-led tours, and we also offer a brand new audio tour that has an excerpt from an interview with Hyatt Huntington, where she talks about her work. So that's really wonderful. But if people don't want to do that, especially return local visitors like to wander around on their own, and they have an illustrated map that shows them what the rooms in the house were, and we also have interpretive docents there all the time that can answer questions.
I must say, when I visited the house last year, I did it just on my own, thinking I knew everything, of course, as a retired academic, but I didn't get what I should have out of it. So take a tour. What's the best time of year to visit?
I would say in the spring or fall. In the coldest winter months, Atalaya can be very cold. And in, the summertime when it's 98 degrees outside, Atalaya can be steamy and hot. Our interpretive programs, the docent-led tours, those run from March 1st through October 31st. So that's the only time you can walk around if you take one of the guided tours. The audio tours are available year-round. And Atalaya is open year-round except for our special events such as the Arts and Crafts Festival and 3-in-1 Day and Wildlife and History Day, those kind of things.
Do you need to make a reservation for one of those tours?
No, you don't need to make a reservation. We post a schedule every year when our spring programs start, and so you just need to check the schedule, which is posted on the park. We usually have tours 6 days a week, and there's a posted time for them, and you can just go over and take it if you're there.
I'll put a link in the notes to the site here, to the website here, and it'll probably be on there. What about volunteers? Do you have a lot of volunteers?
I do. I am actually the only staff person who oversees Atalaya, so you can imagine I need a lot of help. We have a wonderful nonprofit group here at the park called Friends of Huntington Beach State Park. They help with many programs on the park, educational programs, alligator walks, litter patrol on the beach, turtle patrol, trail maintenance, and many of them dedicate their time to Atalaya. A lot of them are interpretive volunteers who help with our guided tours or staff our Atalaya Visitor Center, and we also have 2 very dedicated maintenance preservation volunteers who do the ongoing maintenance there, such as painting the window grills and keeping up with small things that need to be fixed.
Oh, for heaven's sake, so the routine maintenance is done by volunteers?
Yes.
And the support group is part of the overall park support group?
Yes, it's called the Friends of Huntington Beach State Park, so it's for the entire park.
Are there any qualifications? How do you qualify people to become a volunteer at Atalaya?
To become a volunteer at Atalaya, they have to commit to a number of hours per week, just as a volunteer. Now, someone could volunteer at Atalaya and also work at the Education Center, but to be a member of the Friends, they have to do a minimum number of hours. After that, they will go through training with me to get started.
Ms. Moses, thank you so much for your time today.
I'm very happy to do it, and I'm glad to tell people about Atalaya and the Huntingtons.